Hi everyone! In this video we're going to be discussing the future perfect tense, which is the final tense we'll be covering. And just wanted to remind you that all of the tenses covered under the tab all belong to the indicative. The imperative and subjunctive are the other two moods, and I only included one video for those since there aren't that many forms. But in this video we're going to be discussing future perfect. And the future perfect form is actually very similar to the perfect and pluperfect. So when you think about all the tenses, it helps to think about present, imperfect, and future as one group, and then think about perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect as another group, because they're just so similar, and they're all formed with the third principal part. So, first things first, what exactly is the future perfect tense? Well, it's actually what the name sounds like, a combination of the future tense and the perfect or past tense. And that will make more sense once you actually know how the future perfect is translated. And let me write that down now. It's translated as will have blanked. And you can see that the will, this word right here, shows the future, and the have shows the past tense, or the perfect tense, thus future perfect. That's a good way to think about it. Okay, so anyways, as I was saying, the future perfect is actually formed very similarly to the pluperfect tense. And again, with the future perfect tense, you're going to look to your third principal part. Let me write that down. Third principal part, and you cross off, or those should be parentheses, cross off the I from your third principal part. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to add your endings. And the only difference in how the pluperfect and the future perfect and and the perfect are formed, of course, is their endings. And the endings for the future perfect active are as follows. And I'll go ahead and write them down right now. And first of all, we make our chart. And now we'll do our endings. And they go ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, and finally erint. And I'll show you an example of the future perfect tense using the verb teneo, tenere, tenui, tentum. And let me just go ahead and tell you I'll just write down the dictionary entry. Teneo, tenere, tenui, tenui, tentum. And it means to hold. But first of all, we go ahead and we look to our third principal part. We cross off the I and we're left with tenu. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our chart and put our stem in every space. Tenu. Okay. So then what we're going to do, now that we've crossed off the last principal part, the last letter, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take these endings and we're just going to copy them down after the stem. And it's ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, erint. Okay. So there was the active, and now we can move on to the passive. And again, like I said, pluperfect and future perfect are identical in how they are formed. And again, the only difference is the accompanying form of sum. So, with the future perfect, or with the passive future perfect, you are again going to use ero conjugated. However, there is one minor change, and that's why I'm going to make a new chart with the accompanying form of sum. Let's make another chart, singular, and I'll draw a line here to show now we're talking about the passive. Okay, and making my chart. And it's a minor difference, but I think doing the entire thing over just makes it stick more in your mind. So it's ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, and erunt. That's the difference. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move over these accompanying forms of sum, so we can just go ahead and easily add on our first word straight to this. So this is the accompanying form of sum. Right over there. And now we can just go ahead and we can take our fourth principal part of the verb we were using above. Let me change the color. And it was, let's see, it was tentum. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and make it tentum. We can make that masculine. And if you remember, we're supposed to match it to our subject, and so that means it'll always be nominative, and it will always be singular for this column and plural for this column. The one thing that we have to know if we're just conjugating the verb, and we're not doing it in a sentence, we need to be given a gender. So I said masculine. So tentus is going to go ahead and be in every space in this column. And then tenti is the masculine plural form of the nominative. Okay, so there you go. That was the sixth and final indicative tense. And if you remember in the intro to verbs video, I said that there are 3 moods. And like I just mentioned in the video, there are 3 moods. And we just finished the indicative mood, as I said. The final 2 moods, imperative and subjunctive, will be covered later on in the last 2 videos. But before then, we're going to talk about the irregular verb forms, which have already been introduced through the pluperfect, future perfect, and perfect forms. And we're also going to talk about infinitives and then deponents. But until then, thank you for watching.